In the 151st year of Greek rule, Demetrius, son of Seleucus, left Rome with a few men and arrived at a coastal city. There he proclaimed himself king. As he was entering the royal palace of his ancestors, the armies there captured Antiochus Eupator and Lysias, intending to bring them to him. When Demetrius heard this, he said, "I don't even want to see them." So the army killed them, and Demetrius assumed the throne of his kingdom. Then all the ungodly and wicked Israelites came to Demetrius. They were led by 𝗠cimus, who wanted to be made high priest. They accused their own people, saying, "Judas and his brothers have killed all your favored leaders and have driven us from our land. Therefore, send someone you trust who can survey all the damage that Judas has caused us and the king's lands. Let him punish Judas and his men and all who helped them." So the king chose Bacchides, one of his favored leaders who governed the province west of the river Euphrates. He was a prominent figure in the kingdom and was faithful to King Demetrius. He sent Bacchides and the wicked 𝗠cimus, whom he made high priest, to take revenge on the Israelites. They set out and arrived in Judea with a large army. 𝗠cimus sent messengers to Judas and his brothers with deceitful words of peace. But Judas did not believe them, for he saw that the enemy had come with a large army. Nevertheless, some teachers of religious law went to 𝗠cimus and Bacchides to inquire about just terms. These Hasidian teachers were the first to seek peace from the two men. They reasoned, "A priest of the line of Aaron has come with the army. He will not deceive us." 𝗠cimus spoke words of peace and vowed to them, "We will do no harm to you or your friends," and they believed him. But he took 60 of them in one day and killed them, as had been written in the scriptures. "They have scattered the bodies of your holy ones. Their blood has been shed all around Jerusalem, and no one is left to bury the dead." Then all the people became very fearful. They said, "They don't know what it means to be truthful, for they have broken the agreement that they guaranteed with an oath." Bacchides moved the camp from Jerusalem to Beth-Zaith. He seized many of those who deserted to him and also some Jews, and he slaughtered them all and threw them into a large pit. He entrusted the country to 𝗠cimus and left some troops to help him. Then Bacchides went back to the king. 𝗠cimus continually fought to maintain his position as high priest, and some Jewish dissenters joined his cause. They took control of Judea and did much harm to Israel. Judas saw all the evils that 𝗠cimus and his companions did to the Israelites. They were worse than the Gentiles. So Judas marched throughout the whole territory of Judea, taking revenge on those who had deserted and preventing them from leaving their towns. 𝗠cimus realized that Judas and his companions were gaining control, and he knew he could not stand against them. So he went back to the king and accused Judas and his men of many serious crimes. Nicanor, one of the king's most honored generals, despised Israel, so the king sent him to destroy the people there. Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a large army, and he sent Judas and his brothers a deceitful message of peace. "There is no need for us to fight each other. I will come with a few men to speak to you in peace." So he came to see Judas, and they greeted each other peaceably. All the while, Nicanor's men were preparing to kidnap Judas. But Judas learned of this deceitful plot, so he was cautious and would not meet Nicanor again. When Nicanor realized his plot had been discovered, he went out to fight against Judas near 𝗕𝗶. But about 500 of Nicanor's men were killed, and the survivors fled into the city of David. After this, Nicanor went up to Mount Zion. Some of the priests and elders came out to meet him peaceably. They showed him the burnt offerings that were being offered on behalf of the king. But he mocked and derided them, cursing and spitting at them as he angrily swore, "Unless Judas and his army are handed over to me, I will burn this house down when I return." Then he left in a terrible rage. The priests went into the temple and stood facing the altar and the sanctuary. They wept and prayed, "You have chosen this house to honor your name and to be a house of prayer and petition for your people. Take vengeance on this man and his army. Let them die by the sword. Remember their blasphemies. Let them live no longer." Nicanor and his army left Jerusalem and set up camp near Beth Horon, where the Syrian army joined him. Judas and 3,000 of his troops set up camp in Adasa. He prayed, "When the messengers of King Sennacherib blasphemed you, your angel went out and killed 185,000 of the Assyrians. In the same way, utterly destroy this army before us today. Let everyone still alive know that Nicanor has blasphemed your sanctuary, and judge him as his wickedness deserves." The armies attacked each other on the 8th of March. Nicanor's army was completely defeated, and he himself was the first to fall in battle. When Nicanor's men saw that he was dead, they threw down their weapons and fled. The Jews chased them for about 30 kilometers, from Adasa as far as Gazara, and their trumpets kept sounding the battle call. People came out of all the towns of Judea and drove the enemy back to the pursuing Jewish army, which killed them all by the sword. Not a single one was left alive. The Jews carried away all the goods, and they cut off Nicanor's head and his right hand, which he had so arrogantly raised against them. They brought his head and hand to Jerusalem and put them on display for all to see. The people were overjoyed and spent that day in festive celebration. Judas decreed that there should be a celebration each spring to commemorate the victory. So Judea enjoyed peace and quiet for a short time. Judas had heard of the Romans' famous reputation, that they were powerful and strong and good to those with whom they held alliances. They promised friendship to any who joined them, and they were very powerful. Judas had heard of their battles and their heroic deeds against the Gauls, how they had conquered them and forced them to pay a tribute tax. He had also heard of the great things they had done in Spain, how they had gained control of the silver and gold mines there and taken possession of the whole region by their wisdom and patience, even though Spain was quite far from them. In every part of the world, kings who opposed the Romans had been overthrown with great losses, while others paid them a tribute tax every year. Philip and Perseus, kings of the Macedonians, and others who had fought against the Romans had been conquered. The Romans had also defeated Antiochus the Great, king of Asia, who had fought against them with 120 elephants and with horsemen, chariots, and a very large army. The Romans took Antiochus alive and ordered that he and those who would reign after him should pay a large tribute tax and give them hostages. Antiochus was also forced to give them India, Media, and Lydia. These were then given to King Eumenes. The Greeks planned to attack and destroy the Romans, but the Romans heard about it and sent a single general to attack them. In the ensuing battle, many Greeks were killed or wounded, and the Romans took their wives and children captive, carried away their possessions, annexed their territory, tore down their fortresses, and made them their slaves, as they are to this day. They destroyed and enslaved all other kingdoms and islands that resisted them. The Romans have maintained a firm friendship, however, with all their friends and allies. So the Romans have conquered kingdoms both far and near, and all who have heard of them fear them. They make kings of anyone they wish, and they depose anyone they wish. In this way, they have become very great. Yet no Roman has ever crowned himself king or displayed his grandeur by wearing purple. They have formed a Senate of 320 people, who meet daily to decide what is best for the people and how to govern them. The government is directed by entrusting one man each year to rule over the whole country. They all obey him, and there is no envy or jealousy among them. Judas chose Eupolemus son of John, son of Achos, and Jason son of Eleazar to go to Rome and establish a friendship and an alliance with the Romans. Judas did this so the Jews could get out from under oppression, for it was obvious that the Greeks were reducing Israel to slavery. Eupolemus and Jason traveled to Rome, which was a very long journey. When they arrived, they entered the Senate chamber and said, "Judas Maccabeus, his brothers, and the Jewish people have sent us to establish an alliance and a peace treaty with you. We want to be formally considered your friends and allies." The Senate was pleased to accept their proposal. The Senate sent a proclamation back to Jerusalem, engraved on bronze tablets so that it might be kept there as a permanent record of their peace treaty and alliance. May the Romans and the Jewish nation meet with success forever, both at sea and on land. May sword and enemy be far from them. If war should come to the Romans or to any of their allies in all their dominion, the Jewish nation will wholeheartedly act as their allies in whatever way the occasion requires. If an enemy is at war with the Romans, the Jews will not supply them with grain, arms, money, or ships, just as Rome has decided. They will keep these obligations without any compensation. Likewise, if war should come to the Jewish nation, the Romans will willingly act as their allies in whatever way the occasion requires. If the Jews have an enemy, the Romans will not supply them with grain, arms, money, or ships, just as Rome has decided. The Romans will keep these obligations without deception. On these terms, the Romans make an agreement with the Jewish people. If both parties agree to add or delete anything in this agreement, they may do so, and whatever changes they make will be valid. Concerning the wrongs that King Demetrius is committing against the Jews, we have written to him as follows: "Why are you making things so hard for our friends and allies the Jews? If they come to us again and complain about you, we will defend their rights. We will make war against you by sea and on land.